Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Eyes and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Aren't Cooey.
Something's different. I am changing. I don't know if I like who I'm becoming.
Boyd, there are a lot of people wanting to know what happened down there.
Mom, where's Dad? Why isn't he back yet?
Tabitha, we need to talk.
It means everything they showed us. It's real. I think they're doing it to make us afraid.
Well, then it worked. There is something ancient here. And it's feeding off our suffering, and it doesn't stop.
We're losing. We're running out of time, and we still don't know the goddamn rules. There is no way to fight back against those things. Everything we've done, every sacrifice we've made, none of us are going anywhere.
You think you're some kind of hero? You're a monster.
Lord, please protect us in this dark place where evil roams so freely. This we ask in your name. Amen.
One way or another, the truth always comes out.
I would make sure it doesn't.
Soldier Boy. Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's fly. DJ's spinning, I said my. Flash is fast, Flash is cool. Francois Sapar, Flash ain't no dude, and you don't stop. Sure shot, go out to the parking lot.
And welcome one, welcome all to the Fromville Hour. And yeah, I'm glad we have some Soldier Boy fans. Love that. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Soldier Boy is, he is that guy. Soldier Boy is the best. Can't wait for that spinoff show. That will definitely be a show that we will be covering here on the channel. I wasn't the hugest fan of The Boys. It was okay. But I am a big fan of Jensen Ackles. Loved him in Supernatural. Loved him as Soldier Boy. So when that spinoff comes out, definitely will be covering that show here on the channel. Because you know who doesn't love a good Soldier Boy, right? Awesome stuff. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And of course, as most of you will have heard, today is a bit of a sad day, bit of a sad week, unfortunately, as it seems well and truly that Julie's wig has been put to rest. And it's sad. It's a sad day for From fans. That I mean, I don't know. I'm almost dreading season 5 at the thought of Julie not having that wig on.
Well, first of all, you're never going to get the volume, okay? That wig had it all. It was full of volume and
Yeah,
life, right?
so full.
Personality. I saw the haircut. I saw Julie's hair and I immediately clocked it. I said, there is no way. She has 3 strands of hair. That is not enough volume, okay? We're going to notice there's a difference. I'm definitely going to miss the wig. I feel like they're making changes in all the wrong places. I want my wig back, okay? The wig was working for us. We loved it. Make other changes. Get rid of Patty. Patty was never working for us, but the wig, we love that wig. It was a diva. This just doesn't have the same personality or authority. When the wig walked in, you knew
You
to
knew
listen.
right away. Like sometimes certain things, I dare say the wig is even a character in and of itself at this point. It's not even like an accessory. It's a freaking character. Some characters just have that it factor where they walk into a room and they instantly command your respect. That is what Julie's wig had going for it. It had that kind of flavor to it. But this doesn't. It doesn't. Like you said, it doesn't have the volume, the bounce, it doesn't got any of it. So yeah, I think we're gonna miss it. We are gonna miss the wig next season. Yeah, R.I.P. Julie's wig, guys. R.I.P. Julie's wig. Yeah, the wig was very fat. It was a fat wig. Long live the wig. Indeed. So from season 4, I mean, I guess looking back, when From is done as a whole, I guess that is one thing, when we look back on season 4, I have to imagine one of the first, I'm talking like 5 years down the road after From has been over for years. I have to imagine when we think back on season 4, just in our heads, Julie's wig is going to be one of the fucking first things that comes to mind. I have to imagine it has left that much of a mark on the From fandom forever.
Yeah. I mean, when I recommend the show, I'm gonna be like, listen, the only good thing about the 4th season is Julie's wig.
Is the wig. Yeah.
Watch Julie's wig. That is the only good thing about the 4th season, and then watch the 5th, right? Because I'm expecting it to get better, right? We had a little dip, but at least we had the wig to hold on to. I don't know. It's like, how stupid do you think we are? Of course, we're going to notice that that's not our beloved wig. We're going to notice that that's not the hair that we grew to love. How could you try to fool us in this manner? But I really love how the chat wants to exchange Patty's life, her entire life, in
Patty's
exchange
life
for the wig.
I would count that a fair exchange. I would. That's a deal I would make 10 times over. You take Patty, we get the wig back. Please, Patty, go. Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you, is what I would say. Though I think the wig was more valuable than Patty in season 5.
Dude, Patty, I still can't get over it. I still can't get over how much screen time Patty got. I have flashbacks. I'm sleeping at night and I'll wake up like, oh, Patty, right? And then they didn't let her die. I think that if they would have allowed for her suicide attempt to be successful, the audience would have loved it. We would have been like, at least we have that, at least we have that like satisfaction of seeing her go.
Interesting. Yeah, you might be right. And yeah, Lucy Lestat is 100% correct. LOL, Julie's wig is like the Steven Seagal of From. Corny, but badass at the same time. That very, very adept. Absolutely. I like that. Yeah, 10 years from now, the wig's still famous. It will be. Yeah, where's the fullness? I mean, the fullness is gone. The volume is gone. I mean, again, Hannah Chermy, she's great, but man, that wig is going to be missed. It's going to be missed. Definitely will miss it. And yeah, it seems like a lot of people are agreeing in the chat in terms of the wig being a little bit better than Patty. And I mean, I'm sorry for that. That is the will of the chat. That is the will of the chat. Hands down by Patty Cake. Hey, that's what the chat wants. You heard it here, MGM. They want the wig back and they want Patty gone. But no, in all seriousness, I think just from a storytelling standpoint, I wonder if it's something that is going to look a little different. I mean, again, like the wig had a very specific look to it. Like it or hate it, good or bad, the wig kind of came to be a part of Julie's look. So heading into season 5 with her hair like this, I have to imagine, like, for people that aren't kind of in on like the wig memes, it's probably going to feel a little jarring. Like it's probably going to, it has to. How can it not?
It's gonna make a difference. That's why I'm saying, listen, we're not ding dongs, like Jade likes to say. We are not ding dongs. We're gonna notice that there's something drastically different. I don't know. I think that if they kept the boy in white and they knew that he was gonna change, that he's super big, he's hella big. He's like the man in white now. If they kept them, why couldn't we keep the wig? We know that it doesn't make sense. We know that it's out of place, but we would have worked with it, you know? I am actually going to miss the wig. I think that it was all good fun too, because it was nothing negative. I never saw anybody be super disrespectful to the actress. It was just fun. Us putting the wig on random items. That was just like wholesome fun, which you don't get a lot of in this world. It was just wholesome, innocent fun.
It was. And again, sometimes in fandoms, you know, jokes like this that can start off super harmless can kind of take a turn into kind of the darker territory. But that's one thing that I found that From fans very, very rarely, if ever, do. You know, all the wig memes that I have seen all year, they've all been incredibly hilarious, but, you know, all in good fun. Like you said, none of them have been malicious or mean or, you know, making fun of. It's all been just in, you know, the spirit of fun comedy. I mean, like, hell, we're literally putting these wigs on the Golem, for crying out loud. I mean, it really did. It took on a whole life of its own at some point. So yeah, I mean, that is one thing that, at least here on this channel, you know, one thing that I always want to make clear is whenever we poke fun at the show, it is only doing that, poking fun at the show. We mean it all in good fun, never from a malicious standpoint by any means. But yeah, no, the wig's been great. The amount of comedy we've been getting out of the wig, and not just the amount of comedy, but, you know, the chat and the fandom, the amount of creativity that the chat has been able to kind of show using this wig, throwing it on all of these different objects, all of these different characters. The chat, the whole From fandom really showed their creativity this season, and they are fucking creative.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we will always make the best of it, of any sort of season that we're given. So it was still amazing, you know, because you guys were so funny, so creative. But yeah, I like what Chiquita says, may the wig be with you, right? At this point, we need to allow the wig to move on to a greener pastures, to a better life, to go, you know, move away to the wig farm where it could run around with all the other wigs. It's gone, and we kind of have to accept that.
We kind of have to accept it. I know, yeah. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. It was definitely fun while it lasted. As were all of the kind of comedic memes that came out of season 4 in general. A lot of good ones, you know, whether it was NPC Roger, the fire mitts, all of the craziness that we got. Season 4 was a really, really funny season. Unintentional comedy, most of it, but comedy nonetheless. And it was fucking great. It was absolutely great. But yeah, RIP to the wig. I guess we can put the wig to rest and move on with a clear conscience going forward, knowing that we are going to support Hannah Jeremy and her wigless state in season 5. But first, let's see what we got in the chat here. We got West of Westeros for $4.99. Thank you so much, West of Westeros. For all intents and purposes, Jeremy was on time. Anything anyone's saying is going in the box. I appreciate that, West of Westeros. But no, I was unfathomably late tonight due to technical difficulties, and I deeply, deeply apologize to each and every one of you. But thank you so
never
much.
on time.
West of Westeros trying to cover for me, though. I gotta appreciate.
He's not
that.
trying to cover for you.
He's
He's
trying
the
to
one that
cover
was
for me.
leading the mob. West of Westeros is the townspeople. Okay, you are the boy. He's the townspeople. He was leading the rebellion. Okay, to
Well,
storm
then I guess he changed sides. It looks like.
Exactly. Last minute, all of a sudden he's redeemed. All of a sudden he wasn't saying
Redeemed.
anything. He's basically asking to be put in the box.
Basically. But we're gonna spare him. We're gonna spare him this evening because he is a great sport, an absolute great sport. yeah. Said you don't snitch. Hey, don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Loyalty. Okay. If I am anything, I am a loyal friend to this late, horrible, forsaken man that I dislike most of the time. But,
Yes,
but still
love
loyal.
Loyalty is hard to come by these days. It really is. It really is. But we got, and thank you, West of Westeros, for another $1.99. What's the boy in white's connection with Sophia's game? Hashtag man in yellow. Now, I think when it comes to that scene at the end, it kind of gives you that hint of this grand kind of game being played. Although I think there's been a lot of interesting discussion as to who's actually playing the game. Is it the boy in white and the man in yellow, or is it the man in yellow against all of the Jade and Tabithas? And I think arguments could be made for either, but, Jade and Tabitha are the kind of main adversary to the man in yellow and vice versa, with the boy in white being that kind of, shadowy helper figure kind of in the distance. So while, just for the sake of symmetry, for the sake of kind of the aesthetic, boy in white versus the man in yellow sounds a lot better. It looks a lot better aesthetically, but maybe narratively, Jade and Tabitha versus the man in yellow fits a little better, I guess you could say.
Well, the question being, thank you, West of Westeros. What's boy in white's connection with Sophia's game? See, my theory, this is my theory, and it's very simplified because it's based on the creators' answers. When the creators came out and gave us some answers as to the show, they kind of simplified the storyline and told us what you've seen, that's what it is. Okay. You guys are conspiracy theories. There is no more. What you see, that's what it is. So it appears to me that the game is being played by Jade and Tabitha because they're the ones that are being given the opportunity to save the children and the children against the men in yellow.
With the boy
So
in white
it's not
being more like a
necessarily
coach.
boy in white.
Yeah.
Not even a coach. I think
Well, a
my
mentor.
theory is
A helper, I guess you could say.
not even a mentor. This dude does nothing. He doesn't help. He literally does not
Well,
help.
it seems like he
doesn't get in
has
the
in
game.
previous cycles. It seems like it seems like his help was a lot more direct in previous cycles, and now he's kind of taking a step back on this one.
Well, let me tell you what I think, okay?
Mhm.
So let me finish my theory. Thank you, Jeremy.
Please finish your theory.
Okay, so no, he's not a coach. I think that the game is being played between the entity in yellow, whether it's Sophia or the man in yellow, this entity in yellow, and the children. Okay, it is the children who are in between salvation or condemnation. So it's, are you going to be saved or not? And who's allowing for that? Jade and Tabitha. I believe that the boy in white, he's just one more of these children. That's why he's dressed like them. I think that he is Jade and Tabitha's son. They had a son and a daughter. And that's why he's stuck there, just like his sibling, the little girl, the little Nkui girl. You see them all together, but because he wasn't sacrificed, he roams the town alone. He's very, very lonely. That's why he knew to tell Victor, hey, what's going to get you is the loneliness. That's the worst part of being the one that's left behind, that you get really lonely and you have no one. So the boy in white, he's kind of a Victor. He think about him as the original Victor. He's around. He has info. He doesn't share info very well. And he just is doomed to survive, is doomed to stay there eternally. So he has seen the game be played over and over again. Because he's not one of the sacrificed children, he's able to maybe more freely communicate with the entity in yellow. And that's why he seemed afraid. When they're talking, both of them, he's not having fun. You see, the entity in yellow is laughing, lighthearted, but he seems afraid the entire time and super serious. So I think that he's just, the original Victor, one more of the Ankui children, but he wasn't sacrificed.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, he very well could be. There's still so much we don't know about the boy in white, where he came from, his true connection to the children, Jade and Tabitha. But yeah, I think he very well could be the original son, a original blueprint for the Victor story arc and the Ethan story arc. Could very well be. But I think, it was a little disappointing not getting anything about the Man in Yellow. I mean, about the boy in white in season 4. I thought we'd at least get a little bit in terms of some kind of hint as to who he really is or where he really came from. But it seems like they're saving all of that for season 5. So at this point, all of the theories are pretty much still valid, and all the theories are pretty much still in play, at least where he's concerned. But I have to imagine we'll get some kind of definitive answer, hopefully within the first half of season 5. And that's not something they wait till the very end to reveal. But we'll see. We shall see. But thank you, West to Westeros, for the super chat, my friend. And I owe you. Whoa. Okay, and let's see what else we got here. We have Ashley, who has just become a new member of the channel. Wow, thank you so much, Ashley, for becoming a member of the channel. That is incredibly generous of you. Thank you so much. And I very much appreciate that. And I saw down in the chat earlier that you said you're a House of the Dragon fan as well. And yeah, we definitely cover that here as well. I'm loving House of the Dragon. I thought House of the Dragon season 3 was going to be a lot worse than it is. Like I wasn't really expecting a great season after season 2 ended kind of But I got to say, season 3 has surprised me in a lot of ways, and it's been pretty decent so far. And I've been enjoying it a lot more than I haven't been enjoying it, at least. Seems like we got the old Daemon back. It seems like we have some good, adaptations of some of these bigger battles coming up. So yeah, House of the Dragon people, very much looking forward to continuing to dive into that with each and every one of you. And tomorrow night we'll be doing our episode 4 pregame show. So if you want to talk House of the Dragon, definitely come back tomorrow night and hang out with us. And thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel, Ashley. Very, 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 very much appreciate that. And I owe you a whoa. But it looks like it is not done there. We have the awesome Kiwi Skirt, who has just gifted 5 memberships. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 memberships gifted from the amazing Kiwi Skirt, one of our awesome mods here. Always dropping a link to the Discord and the watch parties and helping keeping the ship run. Very much appreciate Kiwi Skirt. Thank you so much. Wow, 5 new memberships. Wow, I don't have my chat pulled up in front of me, but I will in a second. Here we go. Looks like Ray is now a member. Lucy is now a member. Chill Frog is now a member. And Will Viz is now a member as well. Wow, awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Kiwi. You've always been just an awesome supporter of not just this channel, but all of the From channels. I see you in all the chats, always being super supportive, and that really does mean the world. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the gift of the 5 memberships. Wow. And we also have Sunflower. Wow. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Sunflower, for the $4.99. is the boy in white related to Tabitha and Jade? What is the connection with Thomas? The directors have mentioned Thomas too many times. Now, I think when it comes to the Thomas thing, and again, I hate to kind of just repeat what was just said, but piggybacking off of what PM said, because I do think it's one of the better theories surrounding the boy in white and Tabitha. I do tend to think that, yeah, he probably was the original Tabitha and the original Jade's son. Where, you know, maybe they had more than just the Onkui daughter. If we see this kind of cycle repeating over and over and over again, if all of these Tabithas or most of these Tabithas kind of get stuck in Fromville and they always have a son and a daughter with them, then that stands to reason that that could have been, you know, the blueprint from the original kind of Jade and Tabitha, I guess you could say. So I like that theory. I like the theory that the boy in white was the son of the original Jade and Tabitha, and he escaped the sacrifice in some manner and somehow got turned into this kind of spirit-like vessel. But I don't know. I mean, I also like the idea that he's kind of closely tied to the faraway trees as well. I mean, I feel like we had a lot of evidence in the first few seasons pointing to the boy in white almost kind of sanctioning all of the faraway trees being used. At least he was either directly involved or right nearby every single time a faraway tree was used successfully. The only time he wasn't was when Dale used it, and we saw what happened to Dale. He ended up freaking screwed. So part of me wondered if he was kind of tied to these faraway trees, a spirit avatar of the children and the trees in some sense. But no, I mean, I think, again, there's so many theories surrounding the boy in white, all of which could still rather be, you know, true. But those are my two favorite up until this point. I know, favorites vary. But those two I like the best, him being the son, the original son, or him being this avatar of the children. I feel like those two just fit most in terms of the evidence we've gotten on the show so far.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you, Sunflower. So I think when you look at history, sometimes there were children in the village or children in the city that were not chosen. They were specifically spared, and the difference between you don't really know. So there were children that would survive these sort of ritualistic sacrifices where people would pray to a deity or give offerings, and some that would be sacrificed. I believe that, yes, it is like you said it, Jeremy. That's a perfect way of explaining it. The blueprint. We are told everything repeats over and over, and it's always the same. Little Boy in Blue told us it always happens in the exact same way. So then it stands to reason that Tabitha and Jade had a son and a daughter. For whatever reason, the daughter was chosen. She was chosen as a sacrifice, right? The little boy wasn't. The little boy is dressed the same as the children, so I think that that is sort of an indication that he comes from the same time frame, the same period of time, and he was the original Victor. When he talks to Victor, he's talking to him very personally. These three rules about what you need to do, it sounds like he made them up himself. Like he's telling Victor, hey, I'm going to teach you how to survive. Now, did you notice that in that episode where where Victor is telling Ethan how to survive, he references how he learned that from the boy in white. And he's passing down that information, telling you this always happens. Victor literally is telling us this is a circle. It goes around, it's a loop, it always happens the same. I got my info from the boy in white, and now you, Ethan, are getting your info from me, which stands to reason if he's showing us, displaying the boy in white, he was us. He was left alone. He created three rules and he gave us the first two, right? I think that the third one is you must document everything because time is going to go by and you're going to forget what's real and what's not because of the trauma. So you need to color or document everything you see, right? So that's what I think it is. And with Thomas, I mean, with Thomas, I always thought that it was just a way of illustrating the great loss that Tabitha had, that she is used to feeling this loss of a child by kind of her fault, because when they talk about Thomas and his death, it was kind of a freak accident. She's right there. She's standing right there with Thomas. And then suddenly he falls off the changing table. So I think it was a foreshadowing of how she somehow, because she stood by and did nothing, is at fault for the death of her children, multiple children.
Yeah, I think, and I think something is, there's something buried deep in Tabitha and Jade's subconscious, and what we've talked a little bit about in the past, that we're probably going to find out that they're maybe a little more guilty than we were maybe originally led to believe, or something. And yeah, I think the idea of Thomas is just to illustrate that this is a family that has suffered a major loss. This is a family that has splintered from the middle, going out. I think that is, the main objective of the Thomas storyline, to show that this is a broken marriage, but a broken family as well. Hell, I mean, when we first meet the Matthews family, they're on their way to Yellowstone National Park to go on one final family vacation before they break the news to the kids that they're getting divorced. So this was not a family in a very good place by any means. And I think the Thomas storyline adds to that and just gives a little more depth and a little more layers to Jim and Tabitha's relationship and what kind of state it was in at the beginning of the series. And that gives us context for how Jim and Tabitha slowly kind of start to find their way back to each other. Right up until the point where Jim dies, they slowly finally find their way back to each other, which makes, in my opinion, Jim's arc so tragic. Because here is this man that is doing everything he can to try and keep this family together. And he finally realizes towards the end that maybe he's holding on a little too tight. Yes, he has good intentions. I mean, it's coming from a place of love, but it's also coming from a place of control as well. And it took Jim a while to realize that. And by the time he did realize it and start adapting to it, that's when he gets killed. So I think it really just serves to kind of show you that this was really a broken family at the end of the day when it comes to Thomas and what they were kind of dealing with and what they couldn't really get past. And I think it humanizes the characters as well, because when you have a show like this that is so kind of out there, that is so fantastical, where the elements are like super, super crazy, you want to make your characters, your human characters, as human as possible to kind of ground the story in a little bit of realism surrounded by all this chaos. And I think that's one thing that From has managed to do pretty well. Like, we have some pretty, fantasy style, dark fantasy style horror elements to the show every once in a while. Yet the characters themselves, I've never seen a show where the characters are more human and more kind of just down to earth and relatable. So I think that's another reason to kind of ground the Matthews family in realism. They're a real family that's dealing with a very real tragedy that many families have dealt with. And I think that's the kind of vibe they were going for with introducing the Matthews family to us the way they did. But yeah, I don't know. I will say one thing: Jim was missed in season 4. I will say that I did miss Jim at times. I feel like I was never really, a Jim hater. I know he wasn't always the most popular character, but I liked Jim. I feel like Jim had a very interesting kind of aspect that he added to the show as a character. So I could feel Jim's absence in season 4. I dare say even more than I felt Tien Chen's. But yeah, I don't know. I think that was where Thomas is, the purpose of Thomas, I guess. I know there are a lot of theories that some people think Thomas never died. Thomas is still alive. There's a lot of big theories out there surrounding the Thomas character, some of which are really fun. But I don't think any of that's actually going to happen. I think, again, the whole point of Thomas is just what we mentioned, to give the Matthews family a backstory in tragedy, ground them in tragedy, pretty much. But thank you so much for the $4.99. Very much appreciate it, Sunflower.
Yeah, I think Eloise. Okay, Eloise was mentioned a lot too.
Yes.
I don't go by who's mentioned, guys, because they mention Eloise to death. right? They kept bringing Eloise and the possibility of her not being identified. And then he just said, yeah, she's dead. Like, I don't know where you guys got that from. You guys like to believe in conspiracies. Eloise is dead. If Eloise is not coming back, then probably Thomas is also. He's part
Yeah.
of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one that was missing Jim this season. That is awesome to see. It seems like quite a few of you have been missing Jim a little bit. Minerva, awesome. Yeah, Julie made the phone call. Yep, another one for missing Jim. Love it. Yeah, I miss Jim. What is wrong with me? I miss Jim too. Yes, Jim is sorely missed. Jim was my girlfriend's favorite character. Ooh, awesome. I never disliked Jim either. I don't get the hate he got. Again, I understand some of the flaws that people were pointing out in Jim. Like he did have some flaws as a character, but I thought he was a great character overall. Like this was just like your quintessential family man trying way too hard, everything that he can to kind of protect and hold on to his family, to the point where he's not realizing that sometimes he's being a detriment to them. I think it was a very real character. And I think that's why maybe it resonated with so many people. But I thought Jim was just really good. I think Ian Bailey was a phenomenal actor, one of the better actors on the show, I think. And yeah, I don't know. I missed him in season 4. As season 4 was going on, I kept thinking like, damn, I kind of missed Jim a little bit.
Mhm. I mean, I like Jim, okay? I thought the actor, he's very handsome and he has beautiful blue eyes and I love blue eyes. And he has really dark hair, okay? Raven black hair, blue eyes, pop, okay? So I like them. I think it really depends on how you look at his character.
Yeah.
If you have been married or you have the experience of having had a marriage, I think that you might have a different perspective and you might understand that sometimes in a marriage, different things will happen and you
Mm.
find that one person is holding on to the relationship harder than the other. And then the tide will switch and it'll be the other person that's trying to hold the relationship together, especially with children. So I think it really depends on what your experience is like. I think the people that dislike Jim maybe didn't have that experience, right? They didn't have that understanding. I don't think he was a super bad guy. He wasn't doing anything terrible. He was trying to control his family and their whereabouts because they're in a town full of monsters. I think that's a little bit understandable.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people didn't like the way that he approached Victor. But if you have a child, you arrive to a new place, the first thing that we teach our children is stranger danger. So it wouldn't be for me. I don't think that it was out of the norm that Jim was like, why is this guy opening the back door of my house and telling my
No, it
son to
makes
go with
sense.
him to the woods?
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense to me, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I miss Jim. And I think it was because we were hanging. Once again, I don't want to rehash it, guys. Don't make me rehash it. But we were hanging out with Sophia. We wouldn't have missed Jim if we had been hanging out with Jade and Boyd and the regulars a lot more. You wouldn't have that home
Okay.
sickness feeling, you know?
Uh-huh. I mean, I think that's an interesting concept, an interesting idea. I mean, did we miss Jim because we just missed Jim, or did we miss Jim because there were parts of season 4 that we found lacking that maybe his character would have filled? I mean, I think that's a very interesting idea. Which is it? Would we have missed Jim if season 4 would have been a little different, I guess you could say. I don't know. I suppose that really comes down to the individual viewer and what you got out of season 4 and whether or not Jim was a big character to you heading into this season, knowing that he was going to be absent. But yeah, I did miss him. I didn't think I was going to miss Jim. I usually don't miss characters after they get killed off, other than Father Cautry. He's kind of the only one I've ever like kind of really did miss. But we still kind of get him in these weird little cameo scenes, so he's still kind of a part of the show. But I do often wonder what the whole show would look like, from start to finish right now if Cautry never died. I wonder what would that look like. But yeah, I found myself missing Jim at times. I feel like he's, he was a fun character. He was a good character. And again, Ian Bailey was also one of the better actors on the show, I thought, too. But yeah, awesome stuff. All right, let's get through these last two. We got West of Westeros again for $1.99. Thank you so much, West of Westeros. What do you think we'll see? What would you think we will see season 5? What would you think we will see? Do you mean when would we think we'll? If you meant when, West of Westeros, let me know in the chat. But if it is when would we? When would I think we would see season 5? I'm thinking no earlier than probably towards the end of 2027. I would love to say maybe mid 2027, but I feel like that's kind of unrealistic considering how long it's taken them to film seasons in the past, on top of kind of post-production. We do know that they are officially filming right now, and this is actually one of the newest photos that has been snapped out of the filming of season 5. We got a ton of people standing outside of the diner. It looks like they're gearing up to film, a pretty big scene. And this was the first day of shooting from season 5. So they are up there. The whole crew's up there. They're getting ready to start filming, which is really, really good news. But even still, even with them getting an earlier start on filming this season, I still don't see us getting season 5 until probably closer towards the second half of 2027, early 2028, the latest.
Yeah, that's kind of what they have been saying, right? They're kind of getting going with it a lot faster than they usually do. Now, if the question is, what do we think we will see in season 5? I believe that in season 5, the reason why they took out the tree is because we're going to see the character's journey to the tower. They have been talking about the lighthouse, the tower, for a long time. Okay. So it's probably going to come back in the last season. Now, usually you would have a shortcut to get to the lighthouse with that tree, but they cut down the tree. And I think that was the reasoning behind it. Now they're going to have to go on foot and journey from the town to the lighthouse. And I think that throughout that journey, which is going to be multiple days, it's going to be a very long journey. Throughout that journey, we're going to get answers as to who is Martin and everything that we saw, right? In the woods, Cannibal Village. And we're going to get those answers because guess what? I do think we're going to be hanging out with Sophia. I think Sophia is going to be one of the survivors, right? Obviously. And she's going to be doing the journey. She's going to be camping with them. She's going to be, part of the group of people that are going to go to the lighthouse all the way through. And she's probably going to be doing her funny little things that she does, like cutting things, cutting ropes, and, those sabotage sort of things she likes to do. Jeremy's dead.
I mean, it definitely does seem we haven't seen the last of Sophia. That is that is for certain. I thought for sure that this undercover storyline would have run its course within the kind of span of season 4. I thought by the time we get to the finale, at the very least, they'll find out who Sophia really is, and we'll head into season 5 with the lines clearly drawn. And I think that would have given me a little bit of a better feeling heading into season 5, as opposed to this feeling where the whole Sophia storyline is still kind of in play, technically. I mean, because again, maybe it's just my personal bias, but I just wasn't a big fan of the undercover Sophia storyline. It didn't really do anything for me. So the last thing I would like to see is more of that in the final season. But I don't know. I guess we'll see, what their plan is. What is the final season going to look like? What is the structure of it? Will the Man in Yellow kind of make a grand entrance? Will we see those lines be drawn in the sand kind of definitively? I don't know. I certainly hope so, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. But one thing I do think in terms of the faraway tree being removed, I do think that that is going to be the beginning of many more consequences that the town of Fromville is going to have to face. When you are ripping out that faraway tree, it's essentially ripping out the very embodiment of the children's hope, all of the hope that they poured into those roots, ripping it out by the fucking root. That is going to have a devastating consequence, I think. I think we've only begun to see the true effects of removing that faraway tree and what it's really going to do to Fromville. And I wouldn't be surprised if, as season 5 goes on, we start to see conditions worsening inside the town because they pulled that tree out. But yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of questions, lots and lots and lots of questions heading into the final season. And I guess we'll have to just wait and see. Will they be able to wrap all of this up definitively in a way that is satisfying to at least, the majority of the audience? I don't know. It's a very, very, very tall task, that's for sure. But I'm very interested to see how they're going to try it, how they're going to do it, and what it'll look like. What will the end of From really be is the question. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Now, I did see something interesting, Jeremy. Here in the chat, one of you guys was talking about an ultimatum, right? We always have those ultimatums. I will stop watching if, and somebody said, I will stop watching if there is a Jade and Tabitha romantic storyline in season 5. And you know what? I think that we kind of got an insight in the finale as to how that romance or that couple is going to be dealt with, how they're going to handle that relationship of sorts or past relationship. And I think they did it in a very tasteful manner. You could see that Jade kind of gives Tabitha some words of appreciation, saying, I'm so glad that if I had to do this with anybody, it was you. And you see how Tabitha, our beloved Tabitha, replies by saying, oh, thank you. Like, she doesn't even say it back. She doesn't even say, thank you. You were about to sacrifice yourself for me and my kids. No, she's like, thank you. So I think it's going to be a lot of the same. We're not going to get a weird love scene. They're not going to become a couple. It is a silent love, a love that is willing to sacrifice, for the other, but it's silent and it's not going to go beyond that. So I don't think you need to stop watching. I just don't foresee a romantic plot here.
Yeah, me neither. I think I think they covered all the ground that they needed to kind of cover in season 4 on that topic in terms of, we know how the characters feel. But we also know the circumstances under which these characters are in. And I guess I'm just not expecting them to go that route in season 5. I mean, who knows, maybe, but I'm not expecting it. Definitely not expecting it. And we have a $10 super chat as well. Thank you so much for the 10. I am locked in on the idea, how do you save the children that are already dead? I think they need to take the bones through the other tree and get transported to the moment the sacrifice happens. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are wondering, what is Julie's kind of storyline? What is her purpose going to be in this whole thing? I feel like, the writers have given her this ability, this story walking ability to kind of travel back in time. You don't give a character something like that, something that big, unless you're planning on using it in a pretty big way in the overall narrative. And that didn't really happen in season 4. So I can only imagine that Julie is going to play a pretty big part in the 5th and final season. Now, I'm not so sure if the trees themselves can take people back to the time of a sacrifice. Maybe. There's still so much about the trees that we really don't know. So I suppose that is possible. But even if it's not, I think your theory could still kind of play out if Julie is the one that has to take it there. Maybe that is Julie's purpose. Maybe that's why she's been given this story walking ability, because she's going to have to travel back to the original sacrifice at some point. I think it's very possible. Again, when it comes to undoing the sacrifice, saving the children, that has been one of the popular theories ever since Julie's story walking got introduced, and even before that, that maybe there's a way to go back and stop the sacrifice from happening. And while I think that could be an interesting ending if they did it right, I don't know if I would want to see them actually go back and just undo everything, kind of hitting that reset button. I feel like that's narratively, that's not always super satisfying for me. I like the idea that, saving the children is most likely, for me anyway, saving their souls, kind of putting them to rest, giving them peace from this eternal torment that they've been in, this kind of in between life and death state that they've been forced to endure for all these centuries. For me, when it comes to saving the children, that's what I think saving the children means: saving their souls, saving their humanity, saving their kind of giving them peace. And I feel like there's so many really good theories on how that could potentially be done, whether it's taking the bones through the faraway tree, whether it's taking the bones to the lighthouse, as PM was saying, and doing the ritual there. Something has to happen with the bones, some kind of ritual. I feel like that much is almost a given. It's really just a matter of what circumstances are they going to have to perform this ritual under. Where are they going to have to do it? What do they need to do it? And when are they going to have to do it? I feel like the when, where, and why, and how are going to play huge specifics in the show, especially after getting that line from Sophia, when she states that it's not so much how, it's not so much what you do, but how you do something that can also matter, and how this place is built on ritual. So I think, that's probably where saving the children comes from. But again, this is also a very popular theory, where a lot of people do think maybe there is some kind of way that they can go back and stop the sacrifice from happening in the first place. And if that does happen, does that completely just undo everything? Does that stop all of the cycles from ever happening? Are you truly changing the past at that point? I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see how the show is ultimately going to use this time travel aspect that they've introduced. But I love all the theories. I feel like all of those theories are, very interesting, and I think they could find something very unique with each one of them.
Yeah, I don't think that they would do the undoing of the original ritual, like travel back in time, stop the ritual from happening, because that would look way too much like Lost, where people would be confused. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Everything we watch never existed because they changed time, and therefore these characters never existed. You can
Yeah,
have Julie, you can have Ethan if Tabitha never reincarnated to become Tabitha, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I just don't think that they would do it. It's too similar and too confusing for some people, right? And it sort of seemed like Harold Perrineau agreed to sign on because he was going to get a definite end, something that was going to be clear, something that wasn't going to confuse other people. So I don't think they would do that. But how do you save children that are already dead? I think they're focusing on the wrong part of that question. Like the boy in white says, that is not the right question. Nobody said save the children's lives. The only thing that was said was save the
Save the
children.
children.
So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if they're dead or alive, because the goal here, the premise is not to save their lives. It doesn't matter if they're dead. They never said save the children's lives. They said save the children. What do we know about these children and everybody in town? We know, number one, they are trapped there. Mariel told us this season everybody who dies here is trapped here. You don't even get to go home. Even if you die, guess what? You're stuck here. And also, Jay told us energy cannot be destroyed or created. It seems like the energy here is trapped, that when you die, you are stuck here, right? So if they didn't say save the children's life, they just said save the children. They're trying to tell you the children are stuck here. They can't move on. Everybody's stuck here, but you need to save those kids, let them go, right? When you're saving something, it is because something has a hold of them. So you're rescuing them, you're saving them, you're freeing them, right?
mhm.
Freedom versus somebody having a hold of them. So it doesn't matter if they're alive or dead. You're not looking to save their life. They're clearly dead. What you're looking for is to release them, to let them go, to have this place let go of them, right? So that is the premise. And so that would equal the soul, that would equal destroying from. They need to figure out the ritual, the right ritual to do with the bones. They need to go to the lighthouse and destroy from. If you destroy from, you break that cage because from is the cage. Everybody's inside that cage. The children are originally there and you get stuck because they call out to Tabitha and Jade and you kind of get stuck in the cage with them, right? And the fish net. So what do you do to get those little fishies out? You rip apart the fish net and then everybody could get out.
Yeah, From is going to be destroyed. I'll be very surprised if by the time the show ends, From is still standing. This was actually my video earlier today. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out after the stream. It's got a few different endgame theories in it. A couple of my favorite endgame theories. I think one of them is definitely a potential. One of them is going to be that season 5 is going to be under some kind of ticking time clock, where maybe the removal of that main faraway tree was the first domino that was falling over in a chain of events that's going to eventually lead to the destruction of Fromville. And Jade and Tabitha are going to have a very limited amount of time to figure out what to do with these bones, where to do it, what ritual to perform before this whole place kind of collapses in on them and then with it. I would love to see a kind of sense of urgency in the final season like that. If the characters did know that, holy shit, this place is going down and we do not want to go down with it. So we have to figure this out before it's too late. I would love to see an ending like that along those lines. Again, it creates that sense of urgency. It gives us that intense kind of edge of your seat feeling, wondering, are they really going to be able to do this before the whole thing collapses in on them? Or are they going to be able to, or are they going to go down with the ship, essentially? But I think Fromville, at least I wouldn't be surprised, I should say, if by the time the show ends, that Fromville itself is no more. It's gone, whether it gets destroyed, implodes, or whatever the case may be. I'll be not surprised at all if that is the case. And I feel like the creators have kind of even hinted a little bit that that could be a possibility with some of the interviews they've done. So yeah, I think the children can be saved, but I don't think their lives can be saved. Like we were saying earlier, I think it's more akin to saving their souls, saving their spirits, giving them peace from this torment that they've been forced to endure. But if they can't, if they fail to save the children, if they fail to find out whatever they need to do with these bones, then yes, potentially all of this could end and the cycle, all of this could continue on and the cycles could also continue. I think a really interesting, rather grim ending, I don't think the show will ever do this, but the show at the very least has kind of hinted at the possibility of this happening in terms of everybody dying and Ethan being the only one left over, Ethan becoming the next victor. And now, obviously, that's not going to happen. There's no way that's how the story is really going to end. But they threw that in there as a potential possibility for Ethan's kind of storyline. I think that would be, the only kind of dark way I could see that these cycles continuing if they really went that dark route. But I don't think they will. I feel like when From ends, our characters will save the children. Whatever save the children means, I think it means saving their soul. I think they will be successful there. But I think doing it is going to come at a very high cost. And yes, our characters will get out, or at least the characters that are still alive at that point will get out. But they will be forever changed in terms of what they had to do to get out. So I envision a bittersweet ending like that, where it's, bitter in the sense where these characters are just completely traumatized for the rest of their lives, or even worse. But some of them do indeed make it out. Fromville gets destroyed. That way, no one can ever kind of get pulled back into that place in future generations. I see a bittersweet balance kind of an ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess I envision this is going to be a very long journey. If it is that they have to take the bones over to the lighthouse, which they have been talking about forever, right? Go to the lighthouse to save the children. We have been given only one instruction: go to the lighthouse to save the children. They have the bones, go to the lighthouse now to save the children. I think through the journey, a lot of people are going to die. so we don't have to worry about them. At the end, maybe one or two people might be able to make it out of Fromville, and those will be the one or two people that make it through having to be without a talisman, having to be in the wilderness, having to survive with very little food or no food. So it's going to be a trail of tears. When I think of the Lake of Tears, I do think of the Trail of Tears, which is a long, arduous journey where a lot of people just died. They just didn't make it. Um, I think I would like to see the characters not know. So when they say save the children, sharks in a minnow's net or minnows in a shark's net. That's what they say, right? In order to get out of the net, what do? You rip it apart, right? You have to open that net. And if they are holding it tight, there's no way that you can get them to let go unless you rip apart the net so that you can escape. But you don't know what's going to happen. So I would like the whole boating to come back to make a full circle loop where they have to boat. We're going to take these bones to the lighthouse. We don't know if that only saves the children and what's going to happen with us. We might die. We might not be able to get out of here. So that there's uncertainty because they don't know, right? Nothing has promised them that they will live. They just said, save the children. There is no promise to go home. So I kind of would like that uncertainty to be there for them to make that choice. I still want to do this, even though I don't know if we're going to get to go home.
Yeah, I mean, given it the kind of giving yourself up to this ultimate kind of sacrifice in a sense, or at least the possibility of saving these children, meaning that you yourself don't get to go home. But at the very least, you will ensure that no one else will ever have to suffer in this place ever again. These children won't have to suffer anymore. They won't have to pull anybody else in here so they can suffer for generations and generations and generations to come. So it might just be a worthy sacrifice in the end if our current cycle, maybe they don't get out of this alive. Maybe they do save the children and maybe it does cost them their lives. Again, bittersweet ending for sure. But yeah, I just get the feeling there has to be some kind of cost. The creators have talked so much about knowledge comes with a cost. Everything comes with a cost in this place. Fromville, that's just how it operates. And I feel like the cost wasn't all too high in season 4, or at least nowhere near as high as I thought it was going to be. So heading into this final season, yes, if they do eventually make it out, it needs to come at a very, very high cost to whoever happens to survive, which probably won't be all of them. At least I hope not. But yeah, I guess we shall see. And we have Sunflower for $4.99. Again, thank you so much, Sunflower. The impact of Ellis and the town people seeing Fatima with the monsters that first night. Fatima was the hope of the town. Well, I think that's going to be a very interesting scenario, just considering like what kind of Fatima are we really going to get, I guess. We saw what happened at the end of the season where she very much turned into a monster. But it seemed like she almost was kind of retaining her humanity. I mean, she was holding the other monsters off. It's not like she turned into a monster and started trying to attack Ellis, Boyd, and Jade and Tabitha. No, she was buying them time, holding the other monsters off, which leads me to believe that maybe there's a modicum of humanity still in Fatima. Maybe she isn't completely gone yet. But I guess that is, one of the many questions heading into the 5th and final season. What is going on with her? Is she really gone? Is she a full-on monster now? Can she not come out during the day now? Are we going to see her with a fucking giant smile on her face the next time the sun goes down? What is really going on with Fatima, I guess, is the question. Because I think at this point, I think a lot of us are assuming that she's going to survive. There's no way she's going to die down in that cave, whether she's holding the monsters off or whatever the case may be. It's not going to kill her. But how much of her humanity can she hold on to? How long can she hold off before she does kind of succumb to potentially the same force that has turned all of these other monsters into these just mindless, demonic killing machines? that's the big question. Will Fatima be able to hold on to her humanity, or will she be joining the Smiley Brigade? If she does join the Smiley Brigade, as you mentioned, what kind of impact is that going to have on the town? Like you said, Fatima was a big beacon of light for a lot of people in town, or at least everyone at Colony House. She was beloved in that place. So yeah, seeing someone like Fatima turned into a monster is going to have a devastating effect on the town morale. And I imagine it's going to put everybody just at a whole new level of fear, because this is something they haven't experienced before. They've experienced all manner of these crazy creatures and entities and cicadas and living dolls and all of this craziness. But one thing they've never seen is one of their own getting turned into one of these monsters. That's like a new level of fear, because if the town sees that, they have to know in their heads, shit, if it happened to her, it could happen to me. So I think if that does happen, if the town does see her like that and she is completely gone, it's just going to add a completely new level of fear to the residents that we haven't seen before. And we all know what happens when these characters get afraid. Stupid things happen. Stupid stuff follows. When people are afraid, they make dumb mistakes. And that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. You know what I would like to see? I don't want to see Fatima walking around like a monster. I just don't. I
I don't
think it
either.
would be cheesy. And I think it would be very expected. We have been talking about that for a long time, right? Since she got pregnant with Smiley, a lot of people thought, okay, well, the next natural conclusion, she becomes a monster because she gave birth to a monster. I think it would be cheesy. Then you have to deal with Fatima roaming the streets. I think it would make a better impact and it would be better writing if Fatima got that opportunity of like Khal Drogo. I can't pronounce it,
Mhm.
but she says, remember me how I was. She's in between a monster and a human right now. She
Yeah.
still can control herself and can make a choice to become a monster if she wants to help her friends, but she was able to be in the sunlight. So she's in between stage. I think it would be more of an impact for her to ask Ellis, I don't want to live like this. I want to die as
Yeah.
I was, as a human person. So I think it would be more impactful if she was to ask Ellis to kill her so
Mhm.
that she doesn't fully unconvert to the point where she can be killed.
Yeah.
And then we do away with the Fatima storyline and we can
And you
move
put
on from
Ellis in Boyd's shoes for a change, having to experience what Boyd had to experience killing Abby.
exactly. We also have foreshadowing because Ellis said, Fatima, I don't know what I would do if I lost you because
Yep.
you are my home. You are my sense of home. What do I do without you? So it's going to be heartbreaking. The creator said they love to make you fall in love with the character only to break your heart and take
Only
them
to
away
make you
from you.
watch them suffer. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think that that would actually make the love story between them more interesting
Yeah,
if
totally.
he had to kill this wonderful person that he met, he married, that he had future plans with, and he had to kill her because that is
Yeah.
what she wanted. She wanted to die on her terms. That would make their love story more complex, more interesting.
Yeah.
And
More
yeah,
palatable.
maybe Ellis gets to get out, but what at what cost? He gets to
Exactly.
get out, but there's no Fatima, right? So you want a bittersweet sort of ending, or at least I do, right? It's more
Yep.
complex. That's what
Yep.
I would like to see where Fatima, if she's just roaming around, guys, in her hippie outfit. Look, first of all, the clothes. Are they gonna give her a new outfit? Because she doesn't dress that way. So are they gonna give her a new outfit? Is she just gonna be roaming around? I think that's cheesy. Or at least to me, it would read the same as when Smiley showed up and said, hello, mother. I know a lot of people like that. To me, I just thought like, that is
Yeah.
not good. Like that is cringy because we have been talking so much about, oh, he's gonna show up and say, hey, mom. It's like that's not your mom. You took over her body. Ha.
Yeah.
Haha, like the joke is dead, okay? We have been talking about this for a long time, Smiley. We don't care if you show up and say, hi,
Mhm.
mother. So the same thing for Fatima. I don't want to see her roaming around.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. Personally, I think I get how it could be an interesting visual. Don't get me wrong, in terms of like seeing a human turned into one of these monsters. But yeah, I do think there's a lot more, just narratively speaking, there's a lot more opportunities to have her remain somewhat human, have a little bit of her humanity kind of still intact. And there's just so many directions you could go with something like that. Like, like what you just mentioned, for instance. I would love to see Ellis finally get put in a situation that Boyd was put in. And because we all saw how Ellis kind of reacted to Boyd killing Abby. He was, he hated him. He hated his own father for a very long time. Because he couldn't just quite understand what exactly his father had to do, the choice that his father was forced into making. And I think this could give Ellis a much better understanding as to who his father is, as to what his father had to go through. And it'll bring them a lot closer knowing that they both had to do the same thing. So I think that could be a very interesting storyline, at least, a little more interesting than her kind of just turning into a monster and being kind of just like lifeless. But again, I just for the sake of the visual, I do get why that could be an interesting scene as well. Just seeing Fatima stroll out of the cave with a giant smile on her face. I get it. It could be an interesting visual, just because we're so used to Fatima being human for so long. But yeah, I would love to see something a little more complex, I guess, with her humanity still intact a little bit, and she's fighting to kind of hold on to the little bit that she can, so she can maybe die a human and not a monster. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But I think one thing is for sure, again, not for sure, but I think it's pretty safe to assume, or at least I'm heading into season 5, assuming that she definitely survived that encounter down in the cave. She didn't die. The monsters probably didn't kill her. I'm betting she's going to be alive. It's really just a matter of what Fatima is going to come out of that cave. The Fatima we know, or a full-on monster, freaking zombified Fatima? That's the question. But we shall see. But yeah, Sunflower, either way, the impact on the town is going to be very, very devastating for sure. And Ray also brings up for 10. Thank you so much, Ray. Is there any hope that a golem will play any part in season 5? And thanks for the From Lives. So much fun / entertaining. Julie's wig emoji. Yes, my friend. I mean, these have been a blast. I've had so much fun covering season 4. All the just hilarious comedy that has come out of this season in and of itself, that alone has been worth it. But yeah, no, you guys have been so great, super supportive, and just absolutely fucking hilarious this season. But in terms of the golem, I wouldn't be surprised if the golem's kind of done. I was never too sure that this golem was ever going to really come to life. I mean, you never really know, considering we are in the point where we're getting living freaking dolls now. But at this point, I feel like the golem was more symbolic for what Fatima herself might be turning into. What if Fatima becomes the champion? What if she becomes the golem of the town in season 5, where she does hold on to her humanity and she's a weapon? She's the champion that the town can use. I could see that. I could even see it going that route, where that was the purpose of the golem the whole time, for Fatima to channel her own kind of strength through it, but ultimately for her to become the golem herself. But I don't think we're going to see the golem actually get animated. I feel like the golem storyline most likely has probably come to a close. I feel like it served its purpose in season 4 in terms of being a source of strength for Fatima to kind of draw on. But I do like the idea of maybe Fatima actually becoming the golem in season 5, where she's the champion.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the golem was inside Fatima all along. The golem is the friends you made along the way. But what happens to the golem? He has to be put down. Okay, that is the story. You don't get to keep a golem, and he doesn't get to help you forever. You don't get to take him home. He definitely doesn't get to be married to you. A golem's story is circular. You make him, he becomes your champion, it gets out of control, you have to kill the golem. And so if Fatima is going to be their golem for a very short period of time, I think eventually, yeah, she's gonna have to
It's
be
going to end in
killed
our death.
off. It's
Yeah.
gonna end without her making it out of there.
Yeah.
Now, I found it really interesting that Fatima didn't attack them. When the monsters are standing, they kind of just like huddle
They kind
and
of just
they
look
are
at.
growling at each other.
Yeah.
But Fatima doesn't like try to scratch them, they don't try to like scratch her. They're
No.
just standing there with their
Yeah.
claws out, doing nothing, just like kind of howling at each other. So it
Hmm.
doesn't seem like the monsters want to hurt her. She's
No.
not going to have to fight them off. She's just gonna have to transform. Maybe the door at Colony House was so that Fatima could come and go as she pleases. She spends the day at Colony. When it's time
Her
to
own
go to
little
bed, she's
backdoor
like,
entrance.
yeah,
Okay.
she's like, bye, babe. I have to go to the caves. And then she goes down. She goes through her little door to the cave. She comes up every day. Maybe that's what it's there for, you know?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, shit, it's as good an explanation for that door as we've heard yet. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not too sure where they're gonna do what they're gonna go with the golem next. I mean, Ray says the golem is my obsession. Let me be. Hey, no problem, Ray. I mean, if you want to see more golem action, my friend, then by God, give Ray more golem action in season 5. Give the fans what they want. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I could be totally off. I could be totally wrong. And maybe there is a second part to this Golem storyline in season 5, and it's going to continue to be in the actual narrative. Or maybe it did serve its purpose already, and it was just there for Fatima to kind of find the strength that she needed to find. Because as someone pointed out in the chat a little earlier, Katrina Marie, she said it herself, making the golem makes her feel strong. So maybe that's all it really was, just a means for Fatima to draw and kind of bring to the surface her own inner strength, maybe. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah, the golem is my obsession.
I mean, I really like the idea. Not that I want to let go of any of our characters. I like Fatima as a character, but I think From is about these emotional scenes. They say that this is a character drama as a monster show, as a horror show, but really they're invested in the character drama. And there is no bigger drama than this man. We know one thing about Ellis: he's not helpful. Why? Because his entire attention is focused on Fatima. Fatima is Ellis's muse. Every drawing he makes is of Fatima. He has drawn her in different variations. He sees her as Eve, himself as, the creation of man. So he loves this woman. That's what we know about Ellis. He is in love with her. She is his muse. There is no greater heartbreak than him having to let go of this person because she's turning into a monster. This thing
Yeah.
that was so beautiful, so full of light, becoming their worst nightmare. I think that when you're talking character drama, yeah, that would make their relationship interesting, and it would also add so much heartbreak to the story of From. Because whether we like the relationship or not, Ellis loves her. That's one thing we know about him. They
Mhm.
love each other very much. So I think
Mhm.
that would be, not that I want to see her die, but I think it would be good.
No, I do too. I do too. I mean, I don't want to see I don't want to see any characters die, but sometimes killing off characters enhances the story and improves the narrative going forward, whether it's the impact of the character death or the impact that it has on the rest of the characters that are left remaining after that character is gone. There are really good reasons to kill certain characters off at times, especially when you're getting to the end of a story where you don't have to worry about their future storylines. You can more comfortably kill off characters because it's the end. So yeah, I could totally see Fatima's storyline ending like that. And again, if she is now the quote unquote golem herself, if this whole golem storyline was only meant for her to become the golem for the town, she's the champion, then yes, history is very clear that golems at some point or another break free from the creator's control, turn on them, and just cause just untold devastation. Which then they need to be put down. So yeah, I could totally see that being coming full circle for Fatima, where she did become the golem. She is the champion, but eventually it's going to end in her death. I mean, she turned into a monster. Her story is going to end with her dying. I'm almost certain of that now. I find it very hard to believe that they'll find some way to reverse this and turn her back into a human. I just feel like that's not going to be possible. So yeah, I think Fatima's storyline kind of has to end with her dying now.
Yeah, I mean, even if they save the children, they're able to rip apart the net, the shark's net.
Yeah.
All of the monsters are probably gonna die, which includes Fatima. She's probably
Yeah.
going to end up dying because they're not gonna have this eternal life. They're not gonna have this monster life. So therefore, she dies either way. It's just better to
Yeah.
have her die on her own terms.
Yep.
And I don't know, maybe she throws herself. I was rewatching the
Well, like
first
Boyd
season of
said,
From.
so
Mhm.
there might come a time where the only thing we can choose is how we decide to leave.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yes. So he has bullets. That means that Fatima, if she wanted to, she has access to a fast way of killing herself
Mhm.
without when she's a human, when she's not a monster, without much of a to do, right? And that's what Boyd was saying. Like there will come a time where you just get to decide how you exit. Are you going to exit as a monster? I don't think she will because she said, "Remember me how I was." Who
Yeah.
she is it matters a lot to her. So I think she probably will decide to die in Alice's arms. And I think it would make it for a compelling scene.
Mhm.
Or she will throw herself off a big height because she kept talking about how when you go up to her room and you look over from, even a
Yeah.
nightmare can seem like a dream. So
Mhm.
if the last thing she wants to see is a dream and a nice thing, maybe she goes up to a great height and she just offs herself without any help from anybody. Um, I think that that would be compelling, but I see the chat wants Jade to die. Somebody in the chat said we should have Jade die. I don't think he's gonna die until like the very end, if at all.
I mean, I do want to see some big characters go. I mean, again, I feel like it can shake up the narrative. It can enhance the story. You get to see the devastation you see of the characters that are left behind, trying to pick up the pieces of whatever character death they're dealing with. Again, killing off a character in a show, you don't just want to kill characters off just for the sake of having a death scene. You want it to fit the story. You want it to enhance the story. And there are so many characters that could get killed off in very interesting ways that would do just that. It would enhance the story, in my opinion. Like again, as much as I love Kenny, if he would have died in that episode, in episode 7, if Smiley would have got him on top of that bus, that would have been one of the most memorable episodes of From in history. Everybody would have remembered that episode forever. And those are the good ones, in my opinion, the memorable ones.
A
Yeah,
lot of
they were.
people,
Mhm,
talking just briefly, talking about Kenny,
mhm.
because I was thinking about this. A lot of people in the fandom, they love Kenny and they love him because of his loss, because he has experienced enormous loss, his mother, his father, the girlfriend, right? All of this loss, they feel like he is owed surviving this.
Yeah.
Now, that I think that that's a very interesting thought, you guys, because when you feel that somebody is owed something, it's because in traditional story writing, you do have a hero. He goes through great loss, but he makes it out. Good people survive. But this is not a traditional story. Just because he's lost so much doesn't mean that he's exempt from dying. His
Mhm.
story could end in From. There is
Yeah.
no reason why he has to survive it. In fact, I don't know. I think it would have made, I know that everybody sees you as a Kenny killer, but I think it would make a lot more sense to show you the gruesome tragedy of what From is. That From is a horrifying, horrible character drama where there is not a happy ending for a lot of people if you have Kenny die. There is
Mhm.
nothing that is owed to him. Just because he has experienced great loss doesn't mean that he should get to be one of the ones that survives. We would like it maybe emotionally, for it to be that way, but the writers said that they like having the community fall in love with characters and then having to let go of them. So maybe they're setting us up, you guys. They're setting us up to kill Kenny.
Mm. I mean, again, I think, if there's any character that does deserve to survive all of it and make it out, it is Kenny. but narratively speaking, that might also be a really good reason to kill Kenny off because it's super unexpected and it's not something that, and he is a character a lot of people are thinking are going to make it out. Yeah, I don't think anyone is 100% safe. I mean, you guys, I always thought that Kenny was going to be one of the few that did survive, and I still do. Like, if I still had to bet on one character that's definitely going to make it, I would still put my money on Kenny. He's going to survive the whole thing. But he might not. He might die in the first fucking episode of season 5, for all we know. It's very possible any character could get it. I don't think anyone is safe, not 100%, or at least they shouldn't. Not in a final season of a show like this. But yeah, Kenny's one of my favorite characters. But just from a pure writing standpoint, from a narrative storytelling standpoint, I do think killing him off in that episode would have made that such a really good, impactful episode. It would have been one that, From fans would have been talking about the entire time. Like, after season 4 ends, that would have been the episode that we're still talking about right now. If Kenny died in that freaking episode, that would have been the focal point of the entire season in terms of what the fandom discusses. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it could have been a nice last stand moment for him where he's finally getting the chance to face down this monster that destroyed his family, that killed his father in a gruesome manner. This is the monster that made Kenny who he is, in a sense, turned him into becoming an adult. I think Boyd had a really good part in helping him along the way, but Kenny had to grow up really, really fast because he lost his parents. So I just think it adds a very interesting symmetry, a nice finality to his storyline where he dies facing off against the monster that killed his father. It's just a good storyline for me, in my opinion. But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the Kenny character, okay? I'm sorry.
I like Kenny. I like me some Kenny.
I don't like Kenny. Kenny is sort of he's just not my type of character. I think he's very wimpy, or I don't know what the word is in English, but he's frail and fragile, and he's like victim mentality.
Victim mentality. Like, Kenny?
Yeah, I feel like he
what? Yeah. What? You sure not thinking about Ellis? That sounds more like Ellis.
Timid. He's timid, right? He doesn't stand up for himself unless he's pushed to stand up for himself. He's come a long way. I will give him that. He has come a long way. But Kenny,
season 1,
when he
Kenny
started off,
timid.
he did not stand up for himself. And then he would make the face of like, oh my God, poor me. It's like, dude, stand up for yourself. Stop feeling bad or sorry for yourself. Stand up for yourself, speak up, say what it is that you want. He would fight with Ellis, but he wouldn't snap at him until the end. It's like, dude, just go and tell Ellis, you're gonna help me. Don't be like, oh, could you help? Maybe you should help. Your dad is out there. And then you snap until the end. It's like you clearly have this aggression and this feeling and you just get it out, right? He's come a long way. Way. So I will give him that. But when we started, that is who he was, right?
I feel like he was that way, in season 1, like before he kind of grew up. But I feel like from season 2 on, Kenny progressively kind of grew more and more into an adult. At least that's kind of how I see him. Season 1 Kenny was, a little immature and had some of those qualities. But I feel like the Kenny we have now has turned into a really solid character, a really solid deputy for Boyd, someone that Boyd can actually trust to not fuck things up. And that's rare. That is super rare in a place like Fromville where you can't really just have good help around every corner. Kenny can be relied on. Kenny's a person that I would not mind having my back going into something dangerous. I feel like he has proven himself that he is pretty brave. He is willing to put himself on the line. Season 1 Kenny wasn't like that. Absolutely not. I do agree with you there. But
that's
I think
what I'm saying. He's come a long way. So,
he's come a long way.
He's come a long way, but that is who he was. So that's why I was never a big fan of Kenny. I'm like, okay, he has a ways to go. Okay. There's a long journey ahead of him. he's not solid. He had to be built up. He's not a Boyd, right? He had to be built up. He's not an Acosta. I know that a lot of people dislike Acosta, but she has her personality was solid. Like maybe in the wrong, misguided direction, right? but
Just
she
a
was like
bit.
solid.
Just
You
a
know what I
bit.
mean? She had a character to her. She was strong-minded.
She had a character to her and and a fucking gun she did not mind firing off when she first arrived.
Exactly. At least she had the confidence to shoot up some people, okay?
She was confident, that's for sure. And I mean, she shouldn't have been confident in her aim, that's for sure, because her aim was fucking horrible. But she was confident. She was confident, that's for sure. But yeah, no, I just think Kenny's turned into such a solid character. I love the character that he's turned into, and that's why I like seeing these journeys of seeing who these characters were in season 1 and seeing how much they've grown to who they are in season 4. Like Jade's another one I always like to point out, because Jade was so different when he first arrived. He was such an asshole. You know, he thought this entire place was one giant escape room that fucking Toby had bought for him. Like that was how self-centered and narcissistic Jade was. And then you see the person that he is now. He's really kind of come a long way. And yeah, I'm doing some hot takes tonight.
The season is over. It's time to, start rating
there's
the
nothing wrong with some
characters.
hot takes. That's for sure. Hotter the
We're
better.
bored. We are bored. Okay. We've been talking for hours about the same thing. So it's time to, let a little bit of our real thoughts on these people are. But it's fine. Kenny will survive. But I agree with
Yep.
Pam Jam. Pam Jam is looking at the picture that you put up. And we were
Mhm.
also, I agree with you, Pam Jam. I was so upset when they arrested Victor.
I
It was
know.
like, dude, I'm
Ah,
never gonna let you live that down, and neither will Victor. Because as
ah,
soon as Victor it tells him, "Hey, you need to get me out of here," and Kenny does, he's like, I told you not to do
I
that to the
told you not
tree."
to pull down that tree. You know,
So I hope that he doesn't let anybody forget. I told you guys didn't believe me. You arrested me. You had me in lockup while I told you that you shouldn't have cut it. And look at what happened now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Look what happens now. Yeah, poor Victor, man. I did feel bad for him in this scene. Poor Victor. Like you said, it's season upon season upon season of everybody asking Victor, what's going on? What do you know? Tell us what you know. And the second he does finally start talking, you lock the motherfucker up. So yeah, I'd be a little bitter if I was Victor. I'd be a little bitter. But yeah, the moment Victor's voice cracked while yelling stop was the moment I could never forgive this. I know. Oh my God. I know. It's just, yeah, you just feel super bad for him. Super bad. And I feel like Scott McCord is super good at those kinds of scenes, these little mannerisms, like that one little line he has in season 3 when he first meets his father. I didn't know how to get home. Super simple, short line of dialogue, but so profound in the way that it's delivered by Victor. And I feel like he has, similar lines every single season where it's not what he's saying, it's how he's saying it that really kind of drives home and hits home. So yeah, I agree with you. I feel like that little crackling in his voice when he says stop. It's like, fuck, man. You feel so fucking bad for him. Poor Victor.
Poor Victor. Oh, those short blue pants he wears. I never noticed Kenny's pants. Never noticed Kenny's pants. I'm going to look closer. I'm gonna get off this whole Kenny thing because people really like him. And when Jeremy mentioned that he should have died, people did not like that. So I'm gonna get off this Kenny thing. I like Kenny, love Kenny.
Yeah, no, Kenny's great. Kenny is great. And yes, the wig is, the wig isn't gonna die. The wig is already dead. unfortunately. That wig is dead and gone. Hannah Chermy has cut her own hair, and she is most likely going to be showing up in season 5 with her own hair. So it looks like the wig is already dead. I don't know where it's going to end up. I don't know what they're going to do with it. They should auction that thing off to the highest bidder. Hell, I'll throw a fucking bid in if I can, and I would wear that on stream for the rest of my days. But yeah, looks like the wig is already gone. He hasn't done any drawings lately, even though things in town are changing. Yeah, I mean, that is something that has been kind of interesting. We haven't seen Victor doing a ton of drawings like he usually does in some of the other seasons. And I do just start to wonder if it's because we're getting closer and closer to the end. Things are winding down. We're getting to the end of the story. Victor is going to start, looking so much at doing new drawings, as opposed to, it seems like he's looking at his old drawings and trying to remember memories from them, trying to remember important things about the Man in Yellow that will hopefully, help Jade and Tabitha and everybody, get out. So yeah, I just feel like it's almost, the show's gotten to the point where, Victor kind of just doesn't even have time really to continue to make the volume of drawings that he used to. But maybe we'll see him do some more in season 5. Maybe we will. What do you think Victor's character arc will be in season 5? Again, I think it'll be a lot of that. I think Victor is ultimately meant to be the historian of Fromville. It's always kind of how I've seen him. He keeps the records. He is the memory of this place. And I think in season 5, he will continue to kind of function in a similar manner as he has up until this point, with memories continuing to come back, him helping the rest of the characters piece some really big things together. And I think ultimately his story will end with him dying. I don't see Victor making it out of here. I don't see Victor just living a happy life on the outside in the outside world. I don't see how he could adapt to something like that. And I think he knows that deep down. So I see Victor doing everything he can in season 5 to help Jade and Tabitha, and to the point where he kind of dies in probably a heroic manner, saving Ethan, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think that there has been a lot of dialogue that lets us know that Victor does not care. And he showed us, right? There was this really powerful scene where Henry, because of the provolone, because he got offered a burger by the fake son, he's like, okay, I'll do it. I'm going to kill my real son, which is so bad on Henry. But he's pointing the gun at Victor. And when he's pointing it at Victor, Victor's upset and he's like in disbelief because he's so disappointed in Henry. Yeah. Henry just proved to him that he's here to do nothing but bring him more pain and suffering. Victor doesn't do anything. He just sits there almost as if he accepts his fate. Like, there is nothing left for me. My dad turned against me because the other son has provolone and I don't have anything. All I have is crayons. So there's nothing left for me. Fine, kill me, right? But then Ethan comes in and he's like, oh, hell no. He rushes and attacks Dad. That shows you that for Victor, he believes that his life, it is what it is, it is what it is. He's okay dying. But when it comes to Ethan, he's not okay with Ethan suffering the same fate that he did. That is his number one purpose, I think, for season 5. For season 5, he's gonna try to do his best to do 2 things. Either save Ethan completely by being brave and courageous and remembering info that can be helpful, or 2, training Ethan so that he can survive alone. So it's going to be those 2 things that are going to prepare Ethan for the best scenario, which is he gets to go home, or the worst case scenario where even if you don't get to go home, at least I gave you every single piece of info that I could have empowered you with so that you can survive here, so that you have it easier than I did when I was here alone. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of those 2 things, him teaching Ethan about survival and also trying to save him. And I think maybe it would be, at the end, maybe he sacrifices himself. Maybe there's a capacity. Not everybody could get in the tree or get into the door. And maybe he's
There'll be something like that.
Limited space. Yeah.
some kind of circumstance where Victor knows that he has to give up his life for Ethan, maybe for even Ethan and Tabitha, but at the very least, Ethan. Because I think Victor's going to do everything in his power to make sure Ethan doesn't end up where he ended up. I think that's one of Victor's main missions now. And I love that. I love Victor taking that mantle up upon himself. This is someone who's incredibly traumatized. This is someone who is essentially still like a 10-year-old boy locked in an adult's body. Yet he's finding the courage and the bravery within himself to probably put himself aside, which I see him doing in the final season, and focusing and making sure that Ethan is safe. And that's not easy for someone of Victor's mind state to do. Victor is constantly in fear of his own life. But the only thing that can override something like that is fear for another. And like you said, PM, we saw a really good example of that with Henry with the gun. Victor not moving when it was pointing at him, but as soon as he points it at Ethan, okay, it's on now. And then we see the outburst from Victor. Victor says, "You're my father. You said you were going to protect me." And before that, we don't hear Victor even saying any of that. It's not until he sees the gun pointed at Ethan that even his outburst starts to happen then. So I think we're going to see Victor, again, do everything he can to help, and probably a pretty heroic death saving Ethan's life towards the end. And I think that would be a pretty good storyline for him. I think that would be a worthy ending. Depending on how they do it, of course, they would have to do it in an interesting manner that was believable and made sense. But if they did, I think that would be a noble ending for Victor, because him just going back to the real world, I just don't see that happening. After all, like you said, this is his home.
I mean, for better or for worse. I think what a lot of children, children are very perceptive. They are little, but they know who you are, just like you know who they are. Even when you don't think that they realize things about you, they do. Victor knew that his father was a weak man. And he says it to us. There is a episode where he says, my mother, it didn't matter how scared she was not going to show us that she was afraid because she didn't want us to be afraid.
Yeah.
And my dad, I don't think he's that strong. So he doesn't have a big concept of what it is like to be with Henry, other than those years that he lived in the real world with Henry. But from that, he knows his father. He knows who he is. And the outburst was, "I knew you were weak. I knew that you said you would take care of me, but you wouldn't. I knew that eventually you would fail." That's kind of like the vibe that I got, because he mentioned how he doesn't believe his father is as strong. And then he tells him, "Why are you even here?" He never made a doll of his dad. He made a dolly of his sister and a dolly of his mother, but he never made a dolly of Henry.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
because he felt like he could do without Henry.
Maybe Victor's ideal, maybe his kind of idealistic version of the perfect family is just him, Eloise, and his mom. Maybe that is the idea of family for him. Very, very possible. Absolutely. And even probable, maybe. But I like this as well, because this is totally something that I always used to ask myself as well. Earlier on during the earlier seasons, I haven't really thought about it in a while. So I'm so glad you brought this up, Faze. 4 seasons in, and nobody is running repeated daily experiments on the faraway trees. Fascinating behavior. It really is fascinatingly dumb behavior, if nothing else. And for me, what brought this on was very early on in season 1, when we first get introduced to the faraway trees. It's season 1, episode 4. We see Victor take Ethan out to show him a tree for the first time. Victor draws a smiley face on a rock, drops into the faraway tree, and it lands, boop, right in the same spot. I thought, okay, this is pretty fascinating. And then, the show kind of continues on, and we start to get a little bit more of an idea as to what's going on, or what these faraway trees do, at least in theory. teleport people from one place to the next and objects. So yeah, when I saw Victor put that rock in that thing, I thought, okay, there's got to be at some point on the show, there's got to be a storyline where they start taking a closer look at these faraway trees. And they haven't. You're right. Here we are 4 seasons in, and we haven't seen any of our characters do anything to really experiment with these faraway trees and see if they can get any kind of handle on how they actually work. Now, that doesn't mean throwing yourself into any old faraway tree, but that does mean locating as many of them as you possibly can and putting different objects in them to see where they land, where they pop out. Is there some kind of method to the madness that can be discerned if you try it enough times? So yeah, that was one thing that always bugged me as well, Face. And again, I'm so glad you brought this up, my friend, because I had totally forgotten about this concept. It had been so long. But yes, I had a big problem with this early on in the show, that they weren't doing anything to learn more about these trees.
Yeah. And this is where the evils of Colony House, I would say, kind of are highlighted for me. I mean, it's fine. You live in a place that is a nightmare. Of course, you want to get a little high. Of course, you want to hook up a little bit and maybe drink a little bit. I understand some people, they can handle it. But when people get too comfortable, when people are drinking, are smoking, are not focused on getting out of there, but rather focus on living for the day, like was their version of living there, then
You
you're
get
not
complacent.
doing you're not doing experiments. All of those people in Colony House, they could have been strategizing. Donna
Yeah.
could have been making a list of different experiments that they could run, different things that they could try. They could
Mhm.
have gone out
Yep.
into the forest little by little and mapped it all out.
Not
When we
even
get to
mapping the
From,
place.
mhm.
Ugh, Jesus. And that gets me. It's like, you're not even mapping the place. Jesus, come on, at least try to map. Even Lost tried to map the island very early on when
Yeah.
that show started. You're not even trying to map this place. Jeez.
Exactly, right? We know that only Boyd and Father Country have this idea of going out there. But the thing is, they could have done it in groups. It could have been like little
Yeah,
by little. They could have gone out there, they could have worked together. But when you're getting high and when you're drinking, like Tom said to Jade,
yeah,
you need to get sober if you want to
sober
figure
up.
things out. If
Yeah.
you are too comfortable in this place and you're living for the day, you're not going to be looking for answers. So I know that the place provides them with food and comforts. I believe that there is a reason why weed and alcohol was always around. And I think that who put it there is the entity in yellow. The entity in yellow put the mushrooms there. The mushrooms appear right by the entity in yellow suit. They were not there before, and all of a sudden, mushrooms appear. I think that the entity in yellow puts out these things that will get people distracted so that you're not looking for answers. You're too comfortable. You're drinking and getting high. They've had issues with the supply of food, but guess what's never run out? Weed and liquor. I think it's for a reason. And I think it's for a reason that Tom says to Jade, you need to stay away from this so that you can get going. And we see that with Julie. She was doing the story walking. She was like, feeling her emotions, whether that was sadness about her dad dying or whatever it was. She was looking for answers. Then she starts getting high and she doesn't care about anything. She doesn't care to get answers anymore or to try to story walk. So I think it's there for a reason, the biases.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. Yeah, it's definitely there for you for a reason. And again, I think there's so many different other kind of aspects, other examples that the characters could have been doing at least in those earlier seasons to try and learn a little bit more about this place that they didn't do. Like again, like mapping the place, not trying to map the place, that was a huge thing for me, especially when we saw later on that they at least have a means, a possibility of traveling through the forest and surviving there overnight. it seems like in the beginning they could only go as far as daylight would allow them because they had to get back to town before the sun went down. But we see Boyd and Sarah, kind of do this method with the tent and the talisman. And for all intents and purposes, that should work. Whatever dragged their tent certainly wasn't a monster, that's for sure. But they have this means, they have the method to travel far into the forest now. So there really was no excuse to try and kind of do this a little bit sooner. But then again, I get it. We see what happens when Boyd and Sarah do it, the kind of where it ends up, how it kind of just really ends up tits up, really, for Boyd at least. And Sarah just ends up right back in the town. But man, you got to try and map this place out. I feel like we've barely even scratched the surface of what's really out there. At least that's always the feeling I had. Like when we got to the end of season 2, and Tabitha got to the top of the lighthouse. And, before the boy in white unceremoniously threw her out of the fucking thing, she takes a look around and we see a vast landscape that seems to just go on forever. Like there's no ending to it. You got mountain ranges, forests, as far as the eye can see. And that always gave me the feeling that we have barely scratched the surface of what else is out there. We got lighthouse in the middle of the forest. We got these weird dungeons that have weird Martin characters in them. I have to imagine there's tons of other places similar to that in Fromville that they haven't even come close to finding yet. And that was one thing I always thought that they would explore a little bit more, finding out a little bit more of what is really out there. I feel like still 4 seasons in, they've barely scratched the surface of what's really out there in the forest.
Yeah, I would be going out there. I mean, we all like to fancy ourselves a Boyd, but I think that's what I would be doing with my time, little by little. Also, who has probably mapped the forest? Victor, the person that we have on the screen. He has multiple maps.
Yeah.
And the time before talismans, he had to hide. So he probably has a ton of information. I'm looking forward to him giving Ethan the map because I'm thinking in order for Ethan to have all the info of where to hide, he's going to have to tell him, like, hey, these were the locations that I used to hide in. Here's a map. And he's going to explain it. We're going to get a whole lot of information from Victor just explaining to Ethan how to survive. That's what I'm thinking. That's how we're going to get a lot of the info of the missing years with Victor.
Yeah, I think that's that would be, just narratively speaking, that would be a good mechanism to kind of dive a little deeper into Victor's backstory as he's teaching everybody else how to survive. We as the audience get a better idea of what he had to do to survive. So you're killing two birds with one stone, narratively speaking. So yeah, I would love to see that happen. You get a little bit of a better glimpse as to what Victor really had to do, the finer details of surviving at night without a talisman. Is it just as simple as digging a hole and diving into it, or is there a little more to it? But yeah, I think.
Jeremy, I was going to ask you just very briefly.
Mhm.
So I was looking through the MGM social media, and they keep telling us, hey, there's so much that you missed in season 1. You should go rewatch it. They keep doing this little like
They
hinting,
keep
and I'm
doing that
thinking,
every
do
season. They
you
do
think that's real, or do you think that they just don't want us to unsubscribe? Because everybody knows that we watch From, and everybody mass unsubscribes until From comes back again.
Until it comes
Are
back,
they
yeah.
telling us like, trust us, you missed some stuff, go back and watch
You
it?
missed some stuff. Don't unsubscribe. Go back and rewatch every single episode, or go rewatch the pilot 1,000,000 times until season 5 gets here.
What do you
I
think?
don't know. I feel like it could be a little bit of both. I feel like maybe there are some hints and some clues in that first episode that might kind of stand out a little bit more once the show is over. But the fact that they're not standing out until the show ends tells me that they're very well hidden, or again, maybe the writers thought they would be more visible than they actually are. Sometimes writers get these things wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like once the final season happens and we're able to see for our own eyes what exactly they meant by that, then I guess we'll have a better understanding. Or at the very least, we should have a better understanding at that point, because they are kind of nailing this point home over and over and over again about this first episode. So by the time this fucking show is over, if there isn't a strong fucking direct connection to that first episode, I'm going to be pissed. So yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see how, what the connection really is. But yeah, sometimes it's just impossible to see these things until you have better context for it, which we don't have yet.
I think I figured out, you guys, I think I figured out the Toby thing. I think I figured it out because I did follow instructions. I saw MGM said, "Hey, you missed a lot of stuff. Go back and watch it," and I did. I went from season 1, episode 1 out. I hit play and I've been rewatching, and I think I figured out the Toby thing. So, do you remember when Toby? Do you have a picture of Toby when he just arrives and they're carrying him?
Not handy.
Okay. Well, I think I figured out Toby. So remember, when Toby first arrives, he is kind of put into the town by himself. They're carrying him. He stumbles out of the car by himself. They ask him, once he's inside the town, once they're walking him over to the clinic, they ask him, "Are you okay? Is there anybody else in the car?" He says, I'm fine. No, there's no. He mentions nobody else in the car.
No.
After that, then Sarah comes into his room, and that's when she goes over, she kisses him, she kills him, she takes out the molar, because I think we thought it was the tongue, but no, it was the molar. That is why Toby died. Toby died because he either had the boy in white. Remember that a lot of people, as they're coming in, they're hearing a voice, they're hearing something being said to them. I believe that the boy in white told him, "Don't say anything about Jade. Don't mention Jade. Don't say anything about him." Because he did have his best friend Jade in the car. There's no reason for him to say no, that there wasn't anybody there. He was lucid enough that he was walking. So I believe that the boy in white told him, "Don't mention Jade." So he goes in there, he's going into the clinic. He says, "No, I'm by myself." So the man in yellow thinks, "Oh, that is the reincarnation of Jade. It's 2 cars. So I know my Tabitha's coming in and I know my Jade is coming in. The other car was only 1 guy. So obviously that is my Jade. I need my Sarah to go and kill this Jade." That's why Sarah went over and killed Jade. She does it after they asked Toby, "Were you the only one?" So they said, "Go kill that man." They thought it was Jade. That is, he protected Jade by saying, "No, I'm the only one in the car." And I think it's because the boy in white told them, don't mention Jade. That kept him safe. He basically protected Jade because by then Sarah wasn't willing to kill again. They had 1 shot with Sarah and she used it on Toby. And Toby protected Jade by saying he was the only one in the car.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting theories surrounding the whole Toby thing. I mean, this is season 1, episode 1 that this thing goes all the freaking way back to. So we better get a definitive answer in season 5. I thought we were going to get one in season 4, some kind of hint as to what's going on with Toby. Why was he really killed? So we, hopefully that is among the things that they do answer definitively in the 5th season. That's
because everybody has been asking, there is no point of Toby dying. He's not that important, right? Now that we know the reincarnation, why would he have to die? And the answer is, Toby wasn't supposed to die, ever. He was not supposed to die. The only reason why he died is because in that second car, he said he was alone. They asked him, was there anybody else with you? Exactly. He says no. So obviously it was like, okay, that car is the reincarnation of Jade. He's by himself. There's nobody else. That's when Sarah goes to kill him. I think he was told by the boy in white, remember, they are on drugs. And when you come into the town on drugs, apparently you get more info. You're able to tap in. You can tap in to From. So I think Toby was told, don't mention Jade. Don't say anything about Jade. That's why they killed Toby. And that kept Jade alive. Because they saw a second car with just one man. Obviously, that has to be the reincarnation of who's supposed to be Jade.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it always seemed like it was a case of mistaken identity, that these voices, whoever these voices were, if it was voices or really the man in yellow, simply just maybe thought that was Jade, and that's why he got killed, unfortunately. Or the other running theory that they wanted to isolate Jade. They didn't want him to have any friends, any allies, which is also an interesting theory, but I do think the mistaking identity one just makes the most sense. It's always one that I've liked the most. But yeah, I feel like they got to give us a definitive answer in season 5. What is really going on with Toby? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but we should get an answer. We very well should get an answer. And yeah, there are some clues like Jim in the RV saying, I remember like things, what it was like before. So very small, but they do exist. I think in terms of some of the clues that are in episode 1, there are a few that I think we can point to that might develop into something later. Like very early on, some of the first dialogue we get for the actual episode, Julie telling Ethan the story with the finger puppets. I think that is a massive clue, a massive foreshadowing for how things might play out in the end. And if you read the original script for the original pilot, there's some extra dialogue in the script that didn't make it into the episode about that scene. And it kind of gives it a lot more context in terms of this story that Julie's telling Ethan here. This might not just be some random story. This might actually be how the story ends. And you know, when you look at the script and you see the additions to it, it just makes a little more sense that maybe this was a massive foreshadowing that they were setting up for later on. Like Norman, you know, saving the town, getting killed by the monsters, the secret fairies returning from the Lake of Tears. Like a lot of these things started to slowly kind of maybe seem like they were foreshadowing for actual events on the show. But yeah, I mean, it seems like Norman is destined to kill the monster, but the claws go too deep and kill Norman as well. That sounds an awful lot like a monster getting killed and killing the person that it kills at the same time. I don't know. I feel like that story Julie told Ethan is going to play out in some way. Maybe not exactly literal in the sense, more metaphorical. But I feel like that story she told Ethan might have been a blueprint of sorts for things to come. I also think one of the blueprints of sorts in the first episode that we get is that line from Ethan talking about how this is a quest and how everyone has a part to play. And the closer you get to the end, that's when it gets the scariest. That always seemed like a kind of general blueprint, a general outline for how the entire series was going to play out. And it was. It turns out that's exactly what that was. That was Ethan foreshadowing how the story was going to go. And now we're at the end. And supposedly, according to Ethan, when you get to the end, that's when it gets the scariest. So I am expecting season 5 to be that season, that scary, scary, crazy season that I was hoping season 4 was going to be. But it looks like they're saving the best for last, hopefully. So I think there are a lot of foreshadowings in that first episode, a lot of interesting details that point to how the story might potentially go. But I guess it's really a matter of how specific was John Griffin talking about when he says the answers are in episode 1, the clues are in episode 1. How specific are those clues, and how specific are the answers to those clues, or are they more kind of blueprints? But yeah, I don't know. I guess we shall find out. But again, these things always, a big light will get shined on it once we actually get the final season. It's very easy to say, oh, this is there. You guys haven't found it yet. It's very easy to say that when you obscure something very kind of blatantly. And then when the final season comes around and you shine a light on something that kind of points back to that first episode, then it all kind of comes full circle. And then it's like, okay, that's what they were talking about. But until you get that added context, that context of how the story ends, sometimes it's impossible to know exactly what they're talking about without them giving us at least a little bit of a hint, which they haven't. They haven't given any hints at all. All we get are vague statements about there are clues in episode 1 to the ending. Not very helpful. But yeah, I don't know. I think, again, once the final season actually plays out, those quote unquote clues will be much clearer, naturally.
Yeah, well, it's working for them. Their marketing
It's
strategy
working.
is
It's working.
definitely working for them
It's
because
working.
guess what? I'm gonna leave you guys. I'm gonna log off and I'm on episode 3 for the 500th time. So I'm gonna head out and I'm gonna watch episode 3 again, and I'll report back on the next
Yeah,
Saturday. I'll let you know if
that'll
I find anything.
Well, no, that'll be the homework, I guess. If anybody wants to partake in it before next week's stream, if you guys have time to do so, yeah, go back and watch the first 3 episodes of season 1, and that will be the discussion of our next stream. Now, usually once we finish a season, we always like to go back and revisit and see what we can pick up on that we didn't have context for before. So yeah, now would be a perfect time for us to start doing that. So that will be our next stream. If you guys have time between now and then, get out there, get back to From season 1, watch the first 3 episodes, and see if there is anything that you guys can pick up on, anything new that stands out now that maybe didn't stand out before. And we will discuss it all next week right here on the channel as we start our rewatch party. But yeah, that'll be fun. That will be fun. But yeah, I got to catch up. You're on episode 3. I gotta get up and catch up. So I'll bang out these 3 episodes before next week. That'll be fun. That will be fun. But yeah, there it is, folks. That is going to do it for us tonight on this fine Saturday evening. And I hope to see each and every one of you for our next stream as we dive into the rewatch and the revisiting of From season 1, episodes 1, 2, and 3. Some of the best episodes. I think the first episode of From will always be one of the all-time greats. But season 1 in general is just so freaking good. So I'm very much looking forward to revisiting it, seeing what else we can see, what new kind of light we see these scenes under, and if we can get any kind of clue as to where the story is ultimately going to go. But yeah, there we have it, folks. And of course, tomorrow we will be doing our House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 4 pregame show, live watch party, and after show discussion. Big shout out to everybody in the Discord. Ando, Palmas Shelby, they've been hosting live watch parties for the new House of the Dragon episodes every single Sunday night right there in the Discord. And we will be doing the same tomorrow. So come and hang out with us for the live pregame show, the live watch party, and then the after show discussion right here on the channel. Until next time, stay safe, ladies and gents. Keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers.
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Aren't Cooey.